Kia ora tātou. Good morning, everyone. I'll call the meeting to order and welcome you all here, noting that we have a leave of absence from Councillor Peter Bevan. Good morning to you all, the staff and members of the media. I will take us through the prayer. O God, our Creator, bless us as we gather today for this meeting. Guide our minds and hearts so that we will work for the good of our community and help all your people. Teach us to be generous in our outlook, courageous in face of difficulty, and wise in our decisions. We ask this grace through Christ our Lord. Amen. Right. So, apologies. I think Debbie's floating around the building somewhere. Okay. Notices. Do you have any notices today? No? No notices. Excuse me. Conflict of interest declarations. Oh, notice. Point of order.
Yes. With respect to today's agenda, we have a public excluded item, which under our standing orders we're obliged to give a indication of what the subject matter is of a public excluded or potentially public excluded meeting. I don't think this particular description at all indicates what we in fact are going to be discussing. And I have some recommended alternative descriptive language, if you would like to hear it.
No,
but
I don't.
The point of having this on a public agenda in the first place is that members of the public will know at least what in fact is being considered by this council. The subject that is indicated here is not what we are discussing.
Well, I disagree, Councillor.
It has nothing.
And you can record your vote at the time if you don't want to go into public excluded.
Well, I'll definitely do that, but this I believe is a breach of our rules.
Well, I disagree. And I'm not debating it. Councillor Barker. Okay, conflict of interest declarations. Let's now go to the
Councillor
minutes.
Belford, clear as conflict of interest with you over that.
Let's go to the minutes of the 28th of August, and let's start on page 2. Quickly scoot through for accuracy. Page 2, 3, page 4, page 5, 6, 7, and 8. Seems a long set of minutes. 9, 10. Page 11, page 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, page 19, page 20, 21, 22, and a signature at the end. Someone happy to move that as a true and correct record? Thank you, Councillor Scott. We have a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Dick. Put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Matters arising from those minutes. Okay, thank you. So now we go to page 3, follow-up items. Ms Lambert.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. Good morning, councillors. The follow-up items, I'll deal with all of them. The first one, the Hiratonga Plains groundwater and the seeking of legal advice, that is actually separately covered in agenda item 12 on today's agenda. The second item also relating to Hiratonga Plains groundwater and the request for a staff report on potential deep bores. That is being worked on by staff at the moment, and we'll come back to you. I'm sorry, I don't have a actual report back date for that. The 2 recommendations around terms of reference have been uploaded to the Regional Council website. Mr Ide has sent out an email, I think it came out to you yesterday via Mrs Wisely, around the nature preservation zones as set out in the Hastings District Council District Plan, and then some information about the river mouth openings has been provided in the status comments column. Thank you.
Okay, we've got any questions? Councillor Balfour.
Yes, regarding number 5, the nature preservation zones. I was the person who raised this question at the previous meeting and appreciate the information, but the question was really why had we elected not to comment on what is turned out to be a very substantial change to the development prospects of Ocean Beach. The decision allows 44 residential properties at Cape Kidnappers. It establishes eco-nodes down on the south end of the beach that also have related commercial activity. Years ago, when development down there was first mooted, this council was very active in voicing concerns that it had or issues that needed to be considered with respect to that. This time, we were totally silent on the matter. And I'd really like to understand why this environmental protection agency of ours had nothing to say about very significant development of Ocean Beach.
Well, let's get an answer.
Thanks. I will get Mr. I to perhaps provide some more information to you via email about that, but in terms of how we operate, under our statutory advocacy, and this is the case where we'd be submitting on the Hastings District Plan or anyone's district plan for that matter, we look at what our policies are and where we consider that those policies may not be being given effect to. So we'd look at things around wastewater, around stormwater, around potentially water quantity if there was an issue in a particular allocation area, and assess the need to make a submission based on that. So all I can assume, and it is only an assumption, Councillor, I will get Mr. I to comment in full, is that that assessment has been done and there was no specific issues raised by what was in the district plan or proposed to be in the district plan that was of concern to us. But as I said, I will get Mr. I to comment more fully or more directly on your question back to you.
Thank you. Right. Excuse me. Further questions? Someone happy to move then that we accept that and move on? Councillor Scott, thank you. Moved, seconded by Councillor Hewitt. Take that as a yes. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried. Minor items not on the agenda. Let's go to that. Right, Councillor Balfour.
I have 3 items: Otani, wastewater, Napier, Pandora, and Mark Lawrence.
What are those 2 last items? I couldn't hear.
Pandora and Mark Lawrence, which is in respect of the wall, seawall, is it? Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Can you add the GoBus contract, please?
Right. Others. Everyone's happy? Okay. Cool. Okay. Let's now then go to fixing the common seal on page 11.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just fairly straightforward this month for leasehold land sales only.
Sale and purchase. Okay. No other comments, Mr. Drury?
Not really, Mr. Chairman. I mean, they do continue, although in smaller numbers. I think last time there were eight on the list. Now there's only 4. So maybe we're seeing a levelling off.
Someone happy to move or question?
I've got a question. I think I've raised this now 6 times, so I'll give it another go. And on every time I've raised it, I've had an affirmative response. And that was that it's very difficult to work out exactly where these parcels of land are and what they are by just simply the descriptor. And I sought from the Chief Executive and staff that we would have, if not in our reports, available on the website, a descriptor that we could go to and check them so it made a little more sense. I didn't want paper to be generated, but could do that. but so far to date, I haven't seen anything of it. Is it possible at all to get this done, or should I just pack up my bags on this and give it away?
Councillor, if you will recall, we have provided you with maps showing locations of where the seal has been affixed to property purchases that the council has made that do not involve, in this case, the identification of private information, which is a leasehold land, but any other instance where the seal has been affixed, we have circulated aerial photographs with showing that. And in fact, next month you'll get one because I just put a seal on another one yesterday, which is not a leasehold land. So you'll get that information next month. But it was more around the concern. The issue for the leasehold land is around the privacy of the information of the, in these cases, the purchaser of the freehold. And council had previously agreed that that was not required to be tabled publicly.
How is it private when it's recorded on a central database accessible by anybody who wants to go into the LINS database?
Yes, you're right, councillor, but I think it's a private issue where a person buys a property. Or, I mean, do they want in public meeting that they have purchased a property? I wouldn't have thought so.
Well, I didn't want it necessarily to be public, but I just wanted to know where the land, so I could know from my own knowledge where the land was. I'm being asked to agree to the seal being affixed to something, and I have no idea where it is. So so from a council's point of view, it just seems to me to be wrong, this is my view, to be putting my agreement to something which I have no real idea of the details. I'm not saying it should be public, I just think I should be able to see what it is, that's all.
Point noted for the fifth or sixth time. Councillor.
Can I make a suggestion? I can understand exactly what Councillor Bark is asking. Would it be possible on a 6-monthly basis or whatever to get a map which shows those properties that actually have changed hands? So it gives us a bit of a view, an overall view of the particular area of Napier or wherever where these properties are being sold. So they're not identified, it's just kind of blocked out in different colours. So we're getting an idea of the movement. Would that be suitable?
I think another suggestion would be that if the that the information be held in the council, and if the council wants to get access to it, they can come along and have a look at the folder. So it come to your office, Liz, or whoever it is, and just say, can I have a look?
Yeah,
and
we can introduce you to the staff member who deals with those, and you can go and see her as and when you're able to look at the list.
That'd be great.
Thank you. Elegant solution. So, with that resounding outcome, is someone happy to move?
I will.
No, I still have a question.
Oh,
So in the same as last month, I'm a little bit the same as Councillor Barker. This is rubber stamping for the sake of it, and so I'm interested, what's the value of what we're talking about here today?
Yeah, council, I don't know exactly, but they normally go through at about 170, 180,000 per sale, so it would be in the vicinity between 700 and 800,000. Yeah.
moved, seconded, Councillor Hewitt. Was that a no? Okay, yep, Councillor Scott, thank you. Moved, seconded. Put that motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Contrary, no. Carried, thank you. Right, adoption of the audited annual report with the big attachment here on page 13, and I'll hand it over to the Chief Executive and Mr. Guru.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll ask Manton to come up because Manton's the one that can explain the big wad of paper that's attached, but I'll just briefly go through what this agenda item's about. The purpose of this paper is to resolve to adopt the 14-15 audited annual report and to authorise the signing of such a report. You'll recall that the draft annual report was put to Council on Wednesday the 26th of August, which is over a month ago, and then the audit proceeded from there. Just a reminder, the Act says that within 1 month of the adoption of this annual report, the Council is to make publicly available its annual report and the summary annual report. Now, just by way of reminder, the summary annual report will be put out in the newspaper on Saturday the 17th of October, so that's for the summary annual report. But the annual report, which is attached today, and the summary annual report will be on Council's website no later than the 15th of October, so the time frame is within the statutory deadlines. The final audited document is attached here to this agenda item. The audit has been completed. I talked to the Director of Audit, Stephen Lucy, just before I came to this meeting, and he's happy with to sign off on the audit report, and here is the audit report here. I think Manton perhaps has got a more up-to-date copy in the last 10 minutes or so. But it's done. That's the main thing, albeit at the last minute. There have been a few adjustments.
Can I ask a question about process here? Because we're signing off on the audited, and we haven't seen the audit yet.
You're welcome to.
I'm just wondering around processes whether we might have to at least, if we go through, delay passing this until we've already had a chance to circulate the audit and see it.
Yep, I'm perfectly happy with that. We could do that later in the morning.
Well, we could, so people will have questions. Perhaps let's get through all that
Yeah,
first.
yeah.
Leave this item for a period of time while people can catch up with that piece of information, and then come back to the decisions after that. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
So, continue.
So there's a few adjustments from the draft to the final, nothing of huge substance, and that is outlined on page 14, at the top of page 14. And Manton can comment on some of those if you so require. Apart from that, Mr. Chairman, we go to the discussion recommendation, I would think.
Okay, well, let's, are there any questions around that change to start with? No?
My question, some of the comments, the feedback that we have given hadn't been incorporated in this. So I'm just looking for confirmation, Leanne, that what you'd assured me was going to be changed has been changed.
Yes, because this is the copy that was run beforehand.
Okay. So I'll be satisfied with the final I haven't seen the final copy. This is still a draft as far as I'm concerned. So is there a final copy sitting around?
Now, the council, the copy that was distributed as part of the agenda is the final copy, subject to perhaps some wording.
Oh, well.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, the final copy will include the auditor's report, and also the page numbering will be finalised. And also there was 2 amendments to the attendance for the councillors, and that's also been included. At the moment it's only electronic, but I'm happy to show you that, just to confirm that for you.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get into some questions. Councillor Grant.
I just want a clarification on that. So, Councillor Hewitt was focused on these councillor numbers, page 166, as indeed I am, and I have a comment to make further. But are these figures going out to the public? These are the figures that are going out to the public.
If I make comments, we have yourself and Debbie had one more, I think it was one more meeting each that we needed to include, which we have now done, so your percentages increased slightly, which we have now made that change, and audit has seen that, but it was after this has gone out to you.
I have another question. The meetings that I'm supposed to attend with the Osprey group, it's Osprey now, isn't it, I guess, are they included in this list? So, therefore, did you include the meeting that I attended with Councillor Pike that they cancelled, and then we went all the way to Te Pahui?
No, it was. I
include-
remember that. That was part of this
That's
financial year.
right. And did you include another one of their meetings that they called that coincided with a Environmental Services meeting committee, so I couldn't attend both?
No, I could only record what they've provided me with, so I can give you the dates, the specific dates that they've provided me with. There was, from memory, there was only 2. in the last financial year and 1 for this financial year so far.
Certainly.
It's normally best practice, certainly my experience, that when you're publishing things about an individual, that the individual is supplied with the information to be relied on before it's published. And I've had no advice at all from the council on what they consider I have or haven't attended. I've had no opportunity to check it. So I've not seen the underlying data, so I would appreciate it being supplied to me. I was surprised that it was not. It's a matter of just ordinary, common, best practice. It's supplied to the individual before anybody does anything with it. I've not seen anything.
Okay.
Well, certainly, Mr. Chairman, I think Councillor Buck's got a point. I mean, at the draft stage, those numbers are in draft, and I think we need to remember, certainly for next year, to provide the breakdown. I think that's fair and equitable, so as people can figure out what this total number is. And Leanne would be happy to do that, wouldn't you, Leanne?
And I think that's a fair request, but
And
the
I'd
fact
like
of the matter is, if you're there, you're there. If you're not, you're not. So.
Well, with respect, I have turned up to a meeting of council where I've been told that I had an apology in. I had never issued an apology at all. So there's other aspects of it that I might have doubts about. And I make the request more clearly, not only for the future, but before these figures go to publication, the underlying spreadsheet is supplied to me to say
fair.
whether I agree with it or not. That's just best practice.
Okay. Back to the report. Any other questions? Councillor Dick, I'm sure everyone's got one or two. Let's work around the table.
Perhaps directed at Paul. The statement comprehensive revenue and expenditure. The gain loss in other financial assets, 57 million. That would be the revaluation of the of HBRC.
Yes.
Through the port shares. Or
Yes, it would be.
plus other valuation
Adjustments.
Adjustments.
Yes. The main one.
The
the
main
of
one
course,
being
is-
the HBRC.
Yeah, is the 57 million revision of HBRC.
Thank you. So that actually features as part of effectively the surplus for the year, doesn't it?
Menton, would you like to pick that up?
It does. It forms part of the comprehensive revenue expenditure. The line probably above that is the operating surplus, which it doesn't include.
No.
That obviously it's just it's a number of time at the time. It's not an actual, but so really the 201 is probably our operating surplus, which we and then that additional comes through later.
And that's basically what we're reporting as the headline surplus is the operating surplus, is it? Is it?
Yeah, that would be. It's also got actual fair gains on investment, things like that, which make it a little bit less unclear than our normal operating surplus, which we report back. But essentially, it's the same. It's the same thing.
It's page 111 for those that are wondering where that's coming from. And you'll notice there on page 111, the bottom line on the left-hand side gives a figure of total comprehensive revenue and expense of 58 million. Well, 57 of that is what Councillor Dick is referring to. Is that right, Menton? Yep.
Okay. You good? Councillor Hewitt, have you... Councillor Graham, you had your hand up? Comment, okay, cool. Councillor Scott? Councillor? You good? Councillor Belford?
Yeah, on page 167, there's a reference to the chief executive's remuneration, which totals $368,000, 819. If you also look at page 48 of the agenda, which is the HBRC report, could somebody just remind me where that remuneration is in respect to this report of financial report from HBRC?
48. If I can follow it through, councillor, on page 48, it's in the, it's in two areas. The top table, it's in Management Services HBRC, and that's running the board and Andrew's contribution to those meetings at a charge-out rate.
Yep.
And in the second table, which is the development of the Rotanifa, it's in the first line there, HBRC internal staff contribution, again at the council's charge-out rate.
So if you add those, it's about $60,000 in the month of August.
The month of August.
And this compensation would be about 30,000 of that 60.
Yes, yeah, but I mean, I'm not right up to speed with who does what on that, but certainly Andrew's commitment there would be the bigger portion of that.
Okay. No further questions about the adoption. You happy to adopt, Councillor Scott? We have a seconder.
You're going to wait for the audit?
No, we're not, are we? Okay, let's actually distribute that and come back to this later in the day.
Perhaps the other thing is we could wait until we've received a report via the corporate services and the subcommittee who have actually considered the audit.
Okay.
Which then puts things into a natural order.
Right. Okay, well, let's just leave this for now. That's good thinking.